Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I hope
Good
everybody's
evening,
fine.
sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay. So I see 8 of you. Right. Maybe shall we wait for maybe 2-3 more minutes. Let your friends join. Right. So any exams going on for you?
No, sir.
No exams. Okay, good, good. So which chapter is going on in your schools? Chemistry?
We have completed the organic chemistry chapter, and then from Monday we are starting hydrogen.
Hydrogen or hydrocarbons?
No, hydrogen.
Okay, okay. Hydrogen is only there for the
First term.
first term, right? Correct, correct. Okay, okay. That's nice. So how was it in school when they taught organic GOC? Did you guys find it easy, tough? Okay. How was it?
Kind of easy on this one.
Kind of easy only. Good, good. Okay. Right. I think we can start. It doesn't seem like people are going to join. Let me share my screen. Okay, maybe we will just see what we saw last class and then we'll quickly move on to the today's topic. Right. Right. So again, we started with isomerism, right? So isomerism is a case where I have molecules have same molecular formula, right? But they have different structures, right? Now these different structures can be entirely different structure, or it can just be different orientations of atoms in space, right? So I think that is where stereoisomerism comes into the picture. Anyways, so before we move on to see how exactly are we going to find the isomers or what exactly isomerism is, we have to understand what is degree of unsaturation, right? Degree of unsaturation generally talks about the number of pi bonds generally, but not necessarily, right? So, okay, so there are some formulas which you have to remember, right? Not formulas, there are certain things which you have to remember for degree of unsaturation. They say if I have one C double bond C, right, it is going to become one unsaturation. I think we have written that somewhere, right? Yes, it's here. It's here. So one C double bond C, 1 degree of unsaturation, one C triple bond C, 2 degree of unsaturation, and if I have one ring, then it becomes again 1 degree of unsaturation, right? So if you have all of these in one thing, again you have to count how many of them are there. For each one, 1 degree of unsaturation, right? Okay, and then we saw one ring plus one double, one pi bond, right? Again, we'll have 2 degree of unsaturation. It's written here, right? So then first you decide the degree of unsaturation. Okay, by looking at the formula, we know the general formula for alkane, alkenes, and alkynes, right? CnH2n plus 2, CnH2n, CnH2n minus 2, right? First, you have to make sure that that particular formula, molecular formula they are giving you is gonna have any double or triple bonds. First, that has to be ascertained. Then only you'll go on writing the structures. Okay, right, and then we saw that what are the different types of isomerism. Yeah, so the first way to classify them is what it is called as configurational and conformational isomerism, right? Conformational is what we're going to talk about the orientation, but again not exactly, right? But we are going to deal with this in a while, right? And in configurational isomerism is what is more lot of things to study, right? So under configurational, I have structural and stereoisomerism, right? Under structural, I have all these, right? Position chain, ring chain, metamerism, tautomerism, functional isomerism, right? And under stereoisomerism, I have 2, geometrical and optical. And this I told you you'll study in 12th, right? Geometrical and conformational you'll study in 11th class, right? Okay, so we started with position isomerism, right? Position isomerism basically merely means molecule have same molecular formula, everything same except that the numbers which you're going to use in the IUPAC name, say 2-methyl, the propan 1-ol, 2-ol, all these things, the numbers are only going to be the change, right? Say we saw a lot of examples, we saw a lot of questions. You can see here it is propan 1-ol, propan 2-ol, everything is same except for the numbers, right? The position of the functional group is what is going to vary. That's exactly what is written here. right? Either the position of the functional group or say the branching, either it can be 1,2-methyl or 3-methyl. Again, that's how it's going to be, right? Fine. And then again, we saw, I think, so many examples. I hope everybody is remembering, right? If you just go through all of these, right? Okay. And then comes the chain isomerism. Here, chain isomerism means they're going to have same molecular formula, but different root word. The first step of the first rule of IUPAC naming, that is your identifying the longest possible chain, right? If you identify the longest possible chain, two compounds having same molecular formula but different root words, in the sense that they have different chain lengths, right? Say if I can have C4H10, for example, right? See, C4H10, I can write this normal butane, right? Or I can have a branch structure like this. Here it will become 2-methyl propane. Again, same molecular formula, but here it is butane, here it is propane, right? But-prop, difference in root word, right? Okay, then we saw in a particular structure, like if I give you C5H12, among them, which can be chain isomers, which can be position isomers, all these stuff, right? And then we saw at last ring chain isomerism, right? Ring chain isomerism, at least I need to have at least 1 degree of unsaturation, obviously, because we know a ring can have a degree of unsaturation, as well as a double bond can have 1 degree of unsaturation, right? Say if I write 3C3H6, it can be a normal alkene, or it can be a normal cyclopropane, right? 3-membered ring, right? Same way for C5H10, straight chain compounds, as well as the ring structures. And we saw for different, like for C5H10 formula, how many possibilities were there? There were 10 possibilities, 5 straight chain structures, right? And 5 ring structures were possible, right? So individually, if I just check only these five are going to become either chain or position isomers, depending on what they are. But if I compare any one from this list and any one from this list of cyclic compounds, that pair will become ring chain isomer, right? I hope everybody is following. I hope everybody is at least remembering whatever we saw, right? Okay, so in this class, we'll continue. I will make a new page, and then, so this is 11th. What is the date? 16, right? Okay, 16/10. Okay, fine. So we have completed first 3 isomerisms in under structural isomerism, right? So today we'll move on to see metamerism. Or actually, more importantly, actually, we today start with functional isomerism. That's an interesting topic. Okay. Functional isomerism. Okay. So from the name itself, I think you'll be able to guess, right? Say I am going to have same molecular formula. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have same molecular formula, but I'm going to have different suffix, or more specifically, different primary suffix, right? How will I have different primary suffix? Obviously, if I have different functional group itself, right? Right, I can have a different functional group itself. Okay, right. So I think that explains everything, right? Same molecular formula. Say I'm going to give you an example. Don't worry, right? So some same molecular formula, but different functional groups can be generated from the same molecular formula. For example, I write C4H8O. Okay, I write C4H8O. All right. Okay. Now you look at this compound and first tell me whether this compound has any degree of unsaturation. If yes, how many degree of unsaturations? So quiet. What happened? I'm asking you C4H8O. If you look at this compound and if I ask you to tell me what is the degree of unsaturation, that's first question. Does it even have a degree of unsaturation? That's the first question. Okay, if it has, how many degree of unsaturations? Are you guys there? So silent. Everybody is there, right? Okay, everybody is there. I can see. Go on, people.
Sir, 1.
1. Okay, fine. Fine, we'll keep this in mind. Anybody has anything else to say?
1, 2.
Okay, again, another word for 1. Anybody has any other different answers or any the same answer you want to say? Yes, sir, it is 1 only.
Sir,
Okay.
I'm getting 3.5.
3.5. How can degree of unsaturation be a 0.5? We're talking about like say a double bond or say a ring structure which are any present, right? See, people, it's very easy to understand. Okay, now you forget that this oxygen is not there. Okay, this oxygen is not there. Now you look at this, right? C4H8, does it not belong to the formula CnH2n? Is it not? CnH2n, 4 into 2 is what is 8, right? It belongs to the formula CnH2n. So obviously this belongs to an alkene. Like obviously,
So is it 0?
it is not an alkene for sure, right? But if it doesn't have an oxygen, definitely, if at all I had only C4H8, it would have been an alkene, right? And an alkene has 1 double bond, 1 C double bond C. So definitely it is going to have 1 degree of unsaturation. Very, very simple. Okay, right? I think in the net, right, in the internet, you might even find formulas by looking formulas for finding the degree of unsaturation. Okay, maybe we can find one. Right?
Sir.
Yeah, go on.
Sir, then even if we include oxygen, then would it also be 1?
Yeah, exactly. Even if you include oxygen in this case, right, it is going to be unsaturated compound with 1 degree of unsaturation for sure. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, it is like, see, initially it will be difficult, but like as you become practiced, once you look at the compound itself, okay, it is going to be unsaturated compound, a saturated compound, all those things you can say, right? Okay, let us try to find out a shortcut. Okay, let me Google it. We have a famous. Now, what should I find? Shortcut, right? Shortcut for finding degree. Or I can even write formula for finding.
Sir, I have it. Shall I say?
You have a formula?
Sir, is it 2c plus 2 minus x minus h?
Something like that will come. Let me give it for everybody so that I'll be able. Everybody is able to see. Yes, it's right here.
Yes, sir. This one. Sir, if you do this, it's coming 3.5, sir. That's what I do.
It's becoming. Oh,
3.5.
Okay, let me check. But there is no oxygen at all here, right? In this formula.
No, sir, but 1 minute. 2c. So there were 4 carbons, right?
4 carbons. 2c plus 4 will become 10. 10 plus 10 minus how many hydrogens? 8 hydrogens. 2 by 2 is 1. Correct? It's coming, right?
Yes. Okay, sir. I forgot the 2 plus 2.
Yeah. So this formula will work. But here, why am I not finding any oxygen?
Sir, we have to ignore oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus while finding degree of unsaturation.
Oh, okay. Wait. Then we will actually go into this. Let me see. Okay, to calculate. No, please. Okay, I think the formula is fine. Okay. This is the formula. Formula of the molecule. In this way, we can apply. Do not contribute to unsaturated numbers. Okay, so this entire thing, right?
Okay, Google.
Please. Okay, so everybody is able to see, right? So the formula I can write is that this as degree of unsaturation, DOU, as 2 into number of carbon atoms plus 2 into, okay, I'll write it again. Oh, what, something wrong. Something is wrong with this one note. Just a moment, people. Right. So degree of unsaturation would be 2C plus 2 plus n minus h, right, minus x, the whole thing divided by 2. And you do not have to include oxygen, sulfur, all these things. Okay, so 2C means what? 2 into the number of carbon atoms plus 2 plus number of nitrogen atoms minus the number of hydrogen atoms plus X is going to be halogens. Okay, X is halogens. Right, so you can use this formula and find the degree of unsaturation first. Okay, any molecular isomerism formula, isomerism problem is given to you. First step is to find the degree of unsaturation. Okay, you can utilize this formula now if you want. Say I have 4 carbon atoms, so 2 into 4 plus 2, nitrogen no, hydrogen I have 8 hydrogens, minus 8, no halogens, so minus 0, whole thing divided by 2. Right, so you see that 2 into 4 will become 8, 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 minus 8 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's exactly what I got here also. Okay, so it's either by experience or you use this formula to find out the degree of unsaturation. Okay, right, fine. Now we'll continue. Right, so if I have C4H8O, what and all are the formulas which I can write is the question. Right, I will give you 2 minutes, people, right? Or I'll give you 3 minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes. Check or say, write down all the possible structures you can get for C4H8O. Go for it. You can construct, it's all, you are the god. Now you can create anything, right? Go for it. But make sure that certain rules are satisfying. Carbon should have 4 bonds. Every carbon atom should have 4 bonds. You should not write any redundant structures. And how will you find whether two structures are redundant, people? How will you find that whether 2 structures are same? Okay, there might be confusions coming, definitely. Okay, this structures and this structures are same or not same. How will you find that out? How will you find that out?
Sir, after finding their IUPAC name.
Correct, right? So if you have any doubts like that, write the IUPAC name. If you get the same IUPAC name, then definitely they are same structures. If you get different IUPAC names, then fine, they are different structures. Okay, right, fine, go on. I'll give you 2-3 minutes. Quickly tell me all the possible structures for C4H8O. You can include chain, position, ring chain. Now that you know that you have an unsaturation, right? Definitely you can bring in a ring chain, right? And try to bring in this position, functional isomers also. Try to bring in, I would say, variety of functional groups. There's only one oxygen, mind you, right? And once you're done, you can tell me how many structures you found out. Please do not sit idle, people. Please take your notebooks and start working out. This is how questions will be asked. How many isomers are possible for this one? All these. And let me tell you this, people, you can actually stop for 1 minute, right? I want to talk to you about this. Your current seniors, that is the students who are in 12th, right, are suffering to a great extent. You know why? Two reasons. One, because they changed the pattern, right? They changed the exam pattern because it was going to be MCQs, and they're going to write the board exams in that pattern. Very difficult to adopt, right? For any, even the brilliant of all students are finding it difficult. Okay, now their agony is accelerated, right? Something is acting as a catalyst to their suffering is organic chemistry. Especially I'm talking about chemistry, right? As I mentioned, right here in this class in 11th, you have only 2 chapters for organic, right? But in 12th, you have almost 7 to 8 chapters, I guess, if I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 chapters in organic. Okay, if you do not know this particular chapter, right? If you do not understand this particular chapter, your 12th is an endless suffering for chemistry. I'm telling you. Then you have to go back to your previous method of mugging up, and this is not going to be easy. Okay, organic chemistry mugging up. If you think that you're good at it, even if you're best at it, this is really not the way you do organic chemistry. And even if you do, you're not going to get marks out of this for sure. Okay, so please make sure, if at all you want your 12th to be good, I don't know any other chapters, how did you concentrate and all that, but this chapter on hydrocarbons in the next term, which we'll study, are very, 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 very important for your 12th class. Let me give this in writing, right? And if you're going to follow this, your 12th is going to be a cakewalk, very simple. If you're going to understand most of the things here, right? Very easy. But if you're not, right, again, you have to spend time coming back, studying the 11th textbooks. Nobody will be able to help you. Nobody will be able to teach you these things again in 12th, right? It is an endless suffering, right? So you decide what kind of, what kind of path you're going to choose, right? Whether an easy path, right? Easy path is obviously now little studying because now you have the time to study, right? Or else they take on the rough path and eventually, in a place where you're going to have gotten easily marks with so much hard work, lesser mark is what you will get, right? Anyways, so I just want to tell you this. Okay, so yeah, go on, get me the structure done. Is anybody got any structures? How many structures? Even if you're still doing any structures, how many structures you got? 1, 2, 0,
4.
4. Okay. Anybody else? Any numbers? Nobody has any numbers. Are you guys doing? What happened, guys? Any problem?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Maybe I'll help you with this. I don't know why are you finding it difficult. Just because I gave one oxygen, I think, I don't know, maybe it's freaking you out. Let me help you with this, right? See people, I need to have 1 degree of unsaturation. I know I found out by the formula or by the experience. However you do it, right? Fine. So that means what are the possibilities I can have for only 1 degree of unsaturation? One is C double bond C, definitely, right? 1 degree of unsaturation, the one way I can have a degree of unsaturation is C double bond C, right? The other way is definitely a ring. Yes, this we already know, right? Obviously, I have to include oxygen somehow, right? Either when you have C double bond C, the one way you can have only 1 oxygen is by having what functional group? Tell me. If you have a C double bond C and the ring, you have already accounted for 1 unsaturation, and I have to include the oxygen. What are the functional groups you can think of?
Ketone.
Ketones.
Ketone. Okay. Now ketone, if I have ketone or aldehyde, both of them, right? Ketone or aldehyde, both of them have C double bond O in them.
Alcohol.
Is that not becoming 1 degree of unsaturation by itself? Are you understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you said aldehyde, ketone or aldehyde, both are possible. Okay, with oxygen, I understand. But if you do that, you are already accounting for 1 degree of unsaturation in the form of a ring or a C double bond C. If you include this also, then the degree of unsaturation becomes 2. Because for this, that is C double bond to 1 degree of unsaturation, or for this ring or double bond for 1 degree of unsaturation. So what I'm trying to tell you is the third possibility for having 1 degree of unsaturation is by having a C double bond group, either aldehyde or a ketone. That is the third possibility. Okay, fine. So this is okay. This is 1 complete functional group by itself, right? Fine. Okay. When I have a C double bond C and still I have to account for 1 oxygen, how will I do it? Or a ring for that matter.
Alcohol.
Good. 1 is definitely alcohol. That doesn't have any double bond, triple bond, right? 1 is OH. Okay. Other one can you think of? Actually, there is other one, even though we didn't discuss it much, but there is one more you can think of. Actually, I even forgot to tell you how to name them also. I will tell you them. I will tell you how to name them also. Don't worry. Okay. Tell me. One more is there, which does not add any degree of unsaturation, but still 1 oxygen can be accounted for. How?
Ethers.
Good. Is it Hamsini?
Yes, sir.
Good, Hamsini. Good. That is ether. Right. Okay. See, what is ether? We know alcohols. We don't know what. I think we know what are ethers, right? So ethers, general formula is ROR, in the sense that I need to have a COC, like this kind of framework should be there. Okay. Then it is called as an ether, right? Say for example, I can have CH3O CH3, right? CH3O C2H5, say CH2 CH3, something like that. Except that instead of putting a carbon hydrogen between 2 carbons, I'm putting an oxygen. That becomes an ether. Okay. Now, how do you name them? Is very simple, right? Now, just like your halogens, that is your X, right? They have no suffix, right? There is no suffix, but I know I have a prefix. What is the prefix for halogens? What is the prefix for halogens? Chlorine, bromine, iodine, fluorine. What is the prefix, people?
Chloro, bromo, sir.
They basically halo. That's the general term. Chloro, bromo, iodo, fluoro means generally halo. Okay. So ether is also of the same category. It doesn't have any suffix, right? It has only prefix, right? And the prefix is alkoxy. Okay, the prefix is alkoxy, and this ALK will depend on how many carbon atoms are there with the oxygen. Okay, so if ether is the only functional group present, right? If ether is the only functional group present, the name of that would be alkoxyalkane. Okay, if it is going to be alkoxyalkane. Okay, now how do you do it? Let me take an example. Okay, say for example, if you have CH3O, CH3, right? Now you have to make sure that one of the carbon chain, say either this carbon chain or in this place, both of them are CH3, so no problem. Okay, so one of the carbon will go along with oxygen, the other carbon is going to be alone, right? It's like that. Say you can mark it this way. For example, this carbon goes with oxygen. Okay, so this part becomes alkoxy, right? And this part becomes alkane. Very simple. Then I'll write it as methoxy because there is only one carbon, right, in this chain. Methoxy, and again here also only one carbon. So I'll call it as methoxy methane. Excuse me. Sorry, people. Okay, so I hope everybody understood, right? This
Sir,
is
could you repeat
alkoxy.
this part?
Yeah, sure. I have CH3OCH3, right? I told you one carbon chain goes along with oxygen. The other carbon chain is going to be separate, right? Whichever carbon chain goes along with oxygen, I'm going to call it alkoxy. In this case, there's only one carbon, so this will become methoxy, right? I told you the name should be alkoxyalkane. Look at this. That is how the name should be, right? Because they're having only prefix part. They don't have a suffix, right? So the prefix you have to use is alkoxy. Very simple. Just like halo, alkane. How do you write? 2-chloropropane, something like that. It's same way here. Okay. Anyways, so this becomes alkoxy, that is methoxy, because I have only one carbon. Now see what is left out. Only one carbon is left out. That is going to become alkane. Again, one carbon atom. So methane. Okay. Right. Same way, if I had say C2H5O, C2H5, it would have been ethoxy ethane. Okay. Now, definitely there'll be a question which will be coming in your mind. Sir, what if we have two different alkyl groups? One side methyl, other side ethyl, then what do you do? Right. At that time, people, you go, what you have to remember is the smaller alkyl group goes with oxygen. Okay, this is the point we have to remember. Okay, the smaller alkyl group, say if at all you have an unsymmetrical ether, that is one side one alkyl group, other side another alkyl group, right? Then what you have to remember is the smaller alkyl group goes with oxygen. That means that is going to form the alkoxy part, right? The alkoxy part comes from the smaller alkyl group. The alkane part comes from the bigger alkyl group, right? So for example, if I write CH3O C2H5 or say CH2CH3, whatever, this is ethyl, this is methyl, right? So you can see, you look at the statement and understand that methyl group goes along with oxygen. So how will I write the name? Methoxy. This becomes what? This becomes ethane. Understand, alkoxyalkane is the name. Smaller alkyl group goes with oxygen, so it becomes methoxy. The other remaining thing is 2 carbons, so that becomes ethane. Did you guys understand? Any problem? Okay, I hope you understood, right? Okay, so another example, one last example I can have, right? Say for example, I can even have something like this. Okay, if I have something like this, okay, so obviously this is normally how we do it. This becomes the main chain now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, why am I numbering from this? Because this is the most prioritized functional group. Now this has to get the lowest possible number, right? So now how will I name this? It is going to become, in the second carbon, I have a methoxy, right? OCH3 is 2-methoxy, and that normal chain is what? Butane. Can I get a yes from everybody? Did you understand this? Yes?
Yes,
No?
sir.
Okay. Everybody, is everything okay? Anybody wants me to repeat again what I said? Okay, fine. If that's the case, you can name this compound then, right? Say I had Go for it and name me this compound.
Sir,
Yeah. Tell me.
no, sir, never mind. I got it.
Okay. Tell me the name of this compound.
Sir.
Hmm.
Sir, a priority should be given to esters or alcohol.
Ester, it's ether.
Sorry, ether, sir.
ETHER.
Yes, sir.
Ether. Ester is again a different functional group that we'll see later. Okay. So priority, obviously, okay, let me include this. Okay. So my halogens have generally higher priority than OR. No, I think it's the opposite. Right. So generally after halogens comes OR. Okay, that means what? Like obviously they are very, very less than, obviously lesser prioritized than OH group. Definitely. There's so much in between. Okay, or from the fact that OR doesn't even have a prefix suffix, you can understand that definitely it is going to have less priority, just like your halogens. Okay, so the answer to the question is definitely OH is having more priority.
Sir, shall I try?
Yeah, go on.
3-chloro, 2-methoxy, cyclopent, 1-ol.
Cyclopent, 1-ol. Okay, there are 2 letters missing from this. Everything is correct. Cyclopent, 1-ol. Anything in between? Okay, you have included prefix, correct? You have included secondary suffix. You have included root word. What did you miss?
Sir, single bonds and double.
What is it? Secondary suffix, right? What you have to do here? It is here. It is only C single bond C, so it should be.
Yes, sir. So pentan.
Cyclopent AN, cyclopentan 1-ol. Right, that's the correct answer. So yeah, it's correct. So the priority goes to carbon having alcohol 1, and this is 2, this is 3, right? There's no other way of numbering. So now these 2 are going to be my prefixes. Now this is going to be chloro, this is going to be methoxy. So alphabetical order, chloro comes first. So it is 3-chloro, 2-methoxy. And obviously the other one is cyclopent. Now there are no double or triple bonds. So AN. And in first carbon, I have an ol, only one ol. That's it. That is the name of this compound. Is everybody doing fine? Everybody understood?
So cyclopentanol also written, right?
Yeah. You don't have to mention this one. Cyclopentanol is also fine. Yes, absolutely. Okay, right. So this is how this is another functional group I'm introducing to you, that is ethers. Okay, now you understood how are they, right? When you have C single bond O, ether, C double bond O becomes a aldehyde or a ketone. Okay, fine. Now we'll go back to our functional isomerism problem, right? Now you can you go for it? I told you that there is 1 degree of unsaturation in the form of a double bond. It can be. If you have a double bond, you have already accounted for 1 unsaturation. So you have to put a OH, either a OH or an ether you have to include somehow, right? And obviously in the ring also same thing, because again you already included for 1 degree of unsaturation. So either a OH or an ether should be accounted for. And at last, The third category, or say third way by which you can include the degree of unsaturation is by putting a C double bond O, and C double bond O is possible for both an aldehyde and a ketone. Okay, right, go for it, go for it. Bring me all the structures possible. Right, and after every time you write a structure, quickly pick a picture after each structure and send me in WhatsApp. Right, let me see how many I'm getting. After each structure, click a picture and send me in WhatsApp. So it is C4H8O. You know all the possibilities now. You just have to mix and match them together to make the molecular formula. That's it. So there can be so many possibilities, people, so many possibilities, not one, not 10. I think it is going to be really more than that. Okay. Try to bring out the maximum structures. I think we can spend the next 15 minutes on this because if I can do this properly, right, I am finishing metamerism also with this. Okay. Not only that, I can actually introduce you to, if you do this problem, I can also introduce you to tautomerism. Okay, right. So 3 type of isomerisms can be studied if you just do this particular molecular formula. Get out all the possible structures. And I am in WhatsApp looking at it. So right after you finish each and every or whatever. Okay, one I got. Okay. Okay. Good. Go on, go on. Nice. I think this is who? Suprajit. Okay. All structures are correct. Suprajit. Right. Till now, you are giving me 5. Go for it. See, make a table first. Make a combination of only C double bond C and OH. Bring out all the structures first. Then the next topic would be for a ring plus OH. Right? I can bring all that first. Then you bring C double bond C with the sorry. Correct. Okay. C double bond C with an ether. Again, ring with an ether. Right? So 4 combinations over till now. Right? The next thing would be only aldehydes. The next thing would be only ketones. So this many possibilities are there. So if I can just write out the first possibilities. First, bring me C double bond C plus OH. Second, C double bond C plus ether. Third, C double bond C plus, both are over. Okay, so a ring plus a OH. Fourth, a ring plus an ether. 5, an aldehyde only. 6, a ketone. Please do not sit idle, people. This is the time for you to practice. I can just write the structures in 5 minutes. I can go. I don't even have to give you this time. Right? Please utilize this time. Try to bring out the structures, as many structures as possible.
Sir, I have sent mine in voice.
Okay. Yeah, I got one. Yes. Okay. 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 Yeah. All your 4 structures are correct. Come on, let me see. At least at least one of the student or 2 of the students should bring me in double digits the number of structures. So many structures are possible. I'll give you 3 more minutes and send whatever you have in hand after that.
Sir, in all these 6 structures, should the carbon-carbon bond be double?
Not necessarily, right? When you have an aldehyde and a ketone, you're already accounting for 1 C double bond, 1 degree of unsaturation. So that definitely will not have any C double bond Cs, only C single bond Cs. Right. And same way, right? And same way, when you have a ring, you have already accounted for 1 degree of unsaturation, right? So again, there will not be any double bonds, there are only single bonds, right? But the moment, obviously, in these 2 cases, definitely you have to include C double bonds, is because this is the only way you will be able to account for 1 degree of unsaturation. Are you able to get the point?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Is the 5th one correct, sir? Yes, it is correct. Hamsini.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Oh, sir, I sent you 4 more.
4 more. Okay. 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 Yeah. All 4 are fine. So, oh my God, I don't think I'll be, we'll have time to even get the number of structures out. I'm just thinking in my mind, I have just crossed, I don't know the number. It's like that. I should have given you a lesser number of carbon atoms, but it's okay. It's good. It's fun, right? So yeah, but most of you should be involving. That makes it more fun, right?
Sir, you tell only the functional isomers.
I tell only the
Functional isomers.
I will tell only the functional isomers. Okay. But anyways, it will be a practice also. Just in another 1 minute, I will start. Okay, I'll start writing the structures, and you can keep on sending me. Okay, but I think it is better you concentrate it after the 1 minute.
So what is the third one you wrote?
A ring plus a OH.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my bad handwriting. Okay, people, I will start. I really want to give you more time, but we have really less time. I have to complete also. So let me start writing the structures. Okay, so let me start writing with C double bond C plus OH. Okay, say you fix the double bond between the first and the second carbon atom first. Okay, I'm fixing it. I'm fixing the double bond between the first and the second carbon atom, and I'm starting with the OH, putting in the last carbon, or say generally it should be first and the second, third and fourth, whatever it is. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say, right? First and second carbon atom having double bond, and the last carbon atom having OH, right? The next structure, so this is now structure number 1. Structure number 2 is again I have to fix this double bond CH2, double bond CH. Now I put the OH in the third carbon atom, right? And I can put the next structure in which the OH in the second carbon atom, CH2, CH3. And the next one is I can put it in the first carbon atom itself, but I cannot have 2 hydrogens. I can have only 1 hydrogen. Okay, right. Now these are the possibilities when I can have a double bond in the between the first and second carbon atom. Okay. Now next, double bond between the second and the third carbon atom, between this and this, right? Say I have CH3, CH, double bond CH. Say I start again putting it in this carbon atom, OH, right? See, how am I going systematically so that I'll not be able to miss out any possibility. Okay. Now again, shifting the OH to the next carbon atom, fixing the double bond between the second and the third. Then I would have no problems whatsoever. Okay. Now, even if I put this OH group here, it is going to be same. Is it not, people? Right? It is going to be symmetric. If you are not finding this, you write the OH here, and for this compound, write the IUPAC name, you will find it to be same. Okay. So that is gone. Again, if I put the OH here in this carbon, again, it is very similar to the fourth structure. Hope you're all able to get it. No, not the fourth structure. I'm sorry, the fifth structure, right? If I put the OH here or OH here, it is going to be same, right? So with C double bond C in between the second and third carbon atom, these are the only possibilities. 5 and 6 are the only possibilities, right? Now, can I put the double bond between third and fourth carbon atom, again start the same thing? Can I do that? Did you understand my question? I'm asking you, can I put the double bond between this and this carbon atom, again start putting OH from this, again shift? Can I do that? Will it be different?
Sir, could you repeat?
What I'm saying is, if I write this structure now, say I write 7, I write CH2, OH, CH2, CH, double bond CH2. Is this correct?
Sir, isn't it the same structure as the one?
Exactly. This is the first structure what we wrote here, right? This is the first carbon atom, and this is the third carbon atom having OH and your this thing. Again, same way. This is the first carbon atom and third carbon atom having the double bond. So the 7th and the first structure are same. So that is why I told it is better to name after every compound, okay, to avoid these redundancies. Okay, so that means the number of structures possible with 4 carbons in the main chain is done, right? So we have to look for carbon atoms with the branch, right? So let me draw the structure. CH2, double bond, C, OH, CH3, CH3. Okay, this cannot be possible, right? Another CH3 is not possible. Oh, no, this is also not possible. Right, say if I make C, OH, I think there's no possibility, right? Not possible.
No, sir, I don't think so.
It is possible. 1 is possible. We can write it like this. This is one possibility. Is it not? Right? So I am having a 3 this thing, but 1 as a branch and an OH, everything C double bond C is matching. And I can put this OH in the carbon atom having the double bond also, not an issue. So 1 more structure is possible. 8th is CH2OH, not even CH2OH, CHOH. Double bond C, CH3, CH3. This is also okay. Okay, right? Fine. So now, what are structures number 1 to 6, right? Structures number 1 to 6. What isomers are there? Look at the structures. I'll make it small for you. Okay. Look at the structures 1 to 6 and tell me what is the name of the isomerism they are showing.
Sir, chain.
What should be different in chain isomer?
Sorry, position.
Right. Everybody agrees that here it is going to be only for the all the structures 1 to 6 are nothing but position isomers. Everybody agrees to the point. Yes, no? Can I get an answer? Or we don't know? Yes, people. Can I say that all of them are just position isomers? You can see only the position of the double bond and the OH I kept on changing, nothing else. Right. So if you just write the names for all of them, for example, I'll just make it for only the first two, you'll understand. Say this would have been bute. Okay, actually, wait. Okay, so if I write the name of this compound, right, I will write this as how much this is bute 3N1 all. For this, I'll write bute 2N 1. Sorry, it's not 2N, it's 1N. No, not 1N, right? It should be 2N, correct? 1, 2, 3. No, it's even 3N. Okay. Right. So bute 3N 1, no, not even 1 all, 2 all. Right. Same way for this, it would have been bute 1N 2 all. You see, only the numbers are changing, nothing else is changing. Right? Bute N all, bute ENOL is same. Everything is same, just the numbers are changing. So definitely they are position isomers. Is it fine, people? Is it okay? Yes? No? You guys are unusually quiet today. I don't know why. Okay, fine. Right. So now if I check, say if I check the pair of 6 and 7, what isomers are there? If I check the pair of 6 and 7, or say 6 and 8, what isomers are they? What is different between 6 and 7?
Chain, sir.
Definitely, right? Here, you know that the root word would have been bute, right? Again, it would have been some bute, some N, some OL, whatever, right? Here, we know it is going to be prop because this methyl group is going to act as a branch, right? And whenever we see that there is a difference, everything is same, but there is a difference in root word, that is difference in chain length, that becomes a chain isomer. Okay, so what about 7 and 8? What kind of isomers are they? What about
Position.
7 and 8? What are they?
Position.
Yes, again their position, because both of them will be prop and prop. Only the position of the functional group, that is OH double bond and CH3, will be changing. Everything else will be same, right? So you can write all these people, right? Structures 1 to 6, all of them, comma, structures 7 and 8. All these are position isomers, right? These two are different groups. 1 to 6 is one group, 7 and 8 are another group, right? But if I take, say, 6 and 7, right? Now they will become chain isomers. Same way, if I take 1 and 8, any combination between these two I take, right? They become chain isomers. Okay, so obviously I cannot have anything with a ring, anything with two carbon atoms in the main chain, right? That is not possible. So these are the possibilities for, these all are the possibilities for what? C double bond C plus NOH. Okay, these are the possibilities. Okay, Right. Now we'll move on to the possibilities where I can have a C double bond C plus an ether. Okay, C double bond C plus an ether. Now let me write this. Say I'll again will fix this double bond between the first and the second carbon atom. Now you can put an oxygen in between and write CH2, CH3. This is okay, right? Okay, this is the, say, the first structure in this second structure, or I'll give the proper names. What? How many pictures got over here? 8. So I'll call this 9. Okay, 9. This is 10th. Now I can move the oxygen between these two. CH2, double bond CH, CH2, O, CH3. This is another structure possible. Okay, now I think this is the only structure possible with 4. Okay, these are the only possibilities. You cannot put the double, yeah, I can see. The next possibility is actually possible. 11 is, say, I write CH3O, CH double bond CH, CH3. This is also a possibility. Okay, right? Is it not? This is also a possibility, right? Another possibility with structure 4, I mean four carbons in the main chain, I don't think it's possible. Okay, none of them are possible. Okay, so then I think we can go for 3-membered rings. Say I had all I have to have is just OCH3. I can even have a OCH3 here, right? This is also another possibility. CH2, C, OCH3, CH3. This is also a possibility. Okay, but this becomes a 3-membered ring. That's all you have to understand. Right. I think we really don't have to spend time on all the structures deducing it. Right. All I wanted to tell you is, if I take these two, okay, any combination between this C double bond C and C double bond C plus an ether, they become a functional isomer. Okay, any combination between C double bond C and C double bond OH, right? One you take from that, and another you take from C double bond D, C plus an ether. Say for example, structure number 1 and structure number 9. You look, right? Both of them are having same molecular formula C4H8O. I'm talking about structure number 1, which is here, right? And structure number 9, which is here. One is an ether, one is a alcohol. Right, one is an ether, the other one is an alcohol. Right, same way, if I can write any structure like this, any ring I take, right, any ring with an alcohol, say a 4-membered ring, right, say a 4-membered ring with an alcohol, and say a 5-membered ring with oxygen. Like it's a 4-membered ring, 4 carbons only, but there is a ring in the ring along with the oxygen also is there. Again, they will have C4H8O. They will become functional isomers. Okay, now let me do it for aldehyde and ketone alone. Okay, aldehyde and ketone alone will try to draw the structures. Okay, say if I take aldehydes, right? I know I need to have this C double bond OH, and I know this is going to be a terminal functional group. Right, it will always come at the end. This and COOH. Right. Say the first possibility is normally writing CH3, CH2, CH2, CHO. Right, that is C double bond OH, right? The other possibility is making a ring structure, or say, making a structure like this, right? So again, these are the aldehydes, CHO, right? C double bond OH. Now, if I look at ketones, right? Say now I can have, basically a ketone should be attached to two carbon atoms. That is what is the difference between a ketone and an aldehyde, right? Here, C double bond was attached to one hydrogen compulsory, and the other can be anything. This can be anything, right? But in ketone, a C double bond must be attached to 2 other carbon atoms compulsorily. That's what makes a ketone, right? Say now this will become CH3, C double bond O, CH2, CH3, right? Or I could have had C double bond O. I think this is the only possibility, I guess. Yeah, this is the only possibility. There's no other possibility. Okay, so if I take, say, this structure and this structure together, again, I'm going to call them as functional isomers, right? Why? Because both of them are having same molecular formula C4H8O, but one is an aldehyde, the other one is a ketone, right? So definitely they will become a functional isomer. Okay, see, don't worry, nobody is going to ask you questions like this. Such a big structure, so C4H8O has so many structures, they are never going to ask you like this in exams. They will just give examples. Okay, they'll give you this compound and this compound and ask you what isomers are they. Are they Paschen isomers, chain isomers, ring chain isomers, are they functional isomers? All this you have to predict, and that's how the choice will be. Okay, or the other thing can be, they'll just give you a simple formula to find the number of structures. Say the options can be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, right? Like this only questions can be asked. So you have to understand, just by looking at two compounds, what isomers are they? Are they even isomers? That all you should know first. Okay, I hope everybody understood what do you mean by functional isomers. I hope everybody gets it. Okay, same molecular formula, but different functional group. Okay, now I want to talk about the ethers. Okay, right? I want to talk about the ethers which are here. These are the possibilities. Okay, these are the possibilities of ethers, right? But right here, there's an important thing. What important thing is, can you tell me what will be the isomerism for 9, 10, 11, 12, right? What are these isomers? If I compare 9 and 10, what isomer are they? Okay, fine. We'll try to name these compounds, okay? Now, can you name this compound? This compound, what I have. Right now, will ask me, sir, which oxygen will go with the, which alkyl group will go with the oxygen? Definitely it is going to be this alkyl group, because this becomes a priority. The name has to be ENE, alkene. Okay, so if I name this, I would say this is my first carbon atom, second carbon atom. So this would be my 2-methoxy, not methoxy, ethoxy. 2 carbon atoms are there. Right, 2-ethoxy, this is ethene, right? ethene, we don't have to specify, this is ethene. Okay, if I have to do this one, right? So now this will become 1, 2, 3. So this will become 3-methoxy prop 1-ene. Okay, so this is 2-ethoxy ethene. This is 3-methoxy prop 1-ene. Okay, now by looking at the names, can you conclude anything? Can you conclude anything that, okay, these are Paschen isomers, chain isomers, anything can you conclude?
Chain isomers.
Okay, fine. That I understand, because here I see that the root words are different, right? But in case of chain isomers, the difference should only be in the root word, right? But you see that even the prefix part is changing. Ethoxy this is methoxy, the numbers are changing, right? So if only numbers are changing, okay, we can call it Paschen isomerism. If at all only the root word is changing, okay, we can tell that it is chain isomerism, right? If at all the functional group is changing, okay, we can call it as functional isomerism. But here there is something strange. The numbers are changing, the root word is changing. It is not functional isomerism. Then what is it? Then definitely we have to give a specific name to these type of isomerisms. Okay, these type of isomerisms are what are called as metamerism. This is where I'm introducing this to you. Okay, this is what is called as metamerism. Okay, let me write this here. Okay, metamerism. First, for metamerism to happen, okay, for metamerism to happen, there should be a structure like this. Okay, there should be a framework like this. A carbon and a carbon, in between them there is a group which is not a carbon. Okay, there should be a group which is not a carbon. So this can be either, say, oxygen, or this can be nitrogen, this can be sulfur, whatever you can think of. Okay, right? So metamerism is possible only if you have between 2 carbon atoms some other element is present. And obviously now you understood that ether definitely comes into this category, isn't it? Right? So whenever you see that, for example, I can write for C4H10, I'll write for C3, can I take, no, it won't work. C4 I'll take, C4H10O, I'll write only the ether structures. Okay, I'll write only the ether structures. See, for C4H10O, the possibilities can be CH3O, CH2, CH2, CH3, right? Or the other possibilities can be CH3, CH2O, CH2, CH3, right? Or say the possibilities can be CH3O, CH, CH, CH3, and another CH3 here, right? So I can keep on writing the structure. So what you have to understand is all these three, right? If I take any pair of them, all of them, they are not any other isomers, but they are what are called as metamers. Okay, they are what are called as metamers, right? So this is possible. First case is possible with your, definitely your ethers. Okay, now second possibility is with the type of amine. Okay, now this and all again you'll study in 12th class, but it's okay. Amines, I know generally I told you it is NH2. Okay, that is what you have, right? Now remember that all the amines are derivatives of ammonia. Okay, all the amines are derived from ammonia. Okay, so I know ammonia formula is NH3. Right, now if I remove one hydrogen and add an alkyl group R, say CH3, I had one H I remove and you add a CH3, or in general any alkyl group. Now what it will become is RNH2. Okay, now if it is only one time substituted, right? If it is only one time substituted, that is 2 hydrogens and 1 alkyl group, that kind of amines are what are called as primary amines, and the representation is 1 degree. Okay, now if you see that the nitrogen is attached to 2 hydrogens and 1 alkyl group, right? That is actually the first derivative of ammonia, right? Is what are called as primary amines. Say CH3NH2, C2H5NH2, something like that. Okay, they are primary amines. Okay, now if I go for the second time substitution, right? One more hydrogen I'll replace, one more hydrogen replaced by an alkyl group, right? Now it will become RNHR. Right, now you see nitrogen attached to 1 hydrogen and 2 alkyl groups. Okay, now if I write it properly, it will be like this. Okay, now again, now if at all you have to give an example, say CH3NHCH3. This is also a possibility. Is it not? Now can't you see that between 2 carbons again there is an element, any other element present, any other element than carbon is present. So again here also metamerism is possible, right? These kind of amines are what are called as secondary amines or second degree. 2 degree means secondary. Okay, these are what are called as secondary amines. Okay, now I can go for one more substitution, right? Now another last hydrogen is there, that also I remove, I add a functional group, it will become RNRR. Okay, now there are 3 degree substitutions, so they are what are called as tertiary, TER, tertiary amines. It is denoted by letter or representation 3 degree. Okay, first degree primary, second degree secondary, third degree tertiary. Okay, here also definitely metamerism is possible, because you will, if I have to give you an example, say CH3N CH3 CH3. Again, what do you see? In between 2 carbons, you are seeing another element present. So definitely here also metamerism is possible. Okay, right, fine. So I hope you understood what is metamerism. Maybe we'll take an example in terms of nitrogen, right? Say I can write CH3NH CH2 CH2 CH3 as one isomer. The other isomer can be say CH3 CH2NH CH2 CH3. Now you see there is a difference in the number of alkyl groups, number of carbon atoms on either sides to be different. Okay, the number of carbon atoms on either side of that particular element to be different. Here it is 1 and 3. Here it is 2 and 2. Hope you're understanding. Same way like this, like that only here also I had. Here it is 1 and 3. Here it is 2 and 2. Here it is 1 and 2 with a branch. Right? There's a difference here, right? So all of them, again, these two, I will call them as metamers. Right? I will call them as metamers. Okay. Anybody has any questions whatsoever? Anybody has any questions? Okay. I hope everybody is following. I hope everybody understood what are metamers. Right? Today we learned two isomerisms. One is functional isomerism. The other one is metamerism. Okay. Fine. The next one, what we have to understand is what is called as my tautomerism. But for tautomerism, for us to understand tautomerism, we have to learn some more things in organic chemistry. Okay. We have to understand a concept called as resonance. Okay. Then only we'll be able to move on to the tautomerism. So tautomerism we'll see along with resonance. Okay. I hope everybody have listened. So most of you, the chapter has been completed, so everybody should know what is resonance, right? So can I assume the fact that you know what resonance is? Can I teach you tautomerism? Can I do that, or we will do it our way? I will assume that you are only my student. You don't know anything about this chapter. That is how I'll teach you. How do you want to continue? Yes, I'm asking you suggestions. You have any suggestions? Are you guys tired today? What happened, people? Today the class which used to be very, you got 10. Okay, you are fine. So generally the class which used to be very energetic today is a little low. Any problems, anybody? Anybody scolded you? Should I ask them? Right. Okay, you can be free with me. Right? Any problems anybody has? Is everything okay? Are you guys down because of any reason? School, sir, school, so much pressure, sir. So much homeworks they are giving me, and I'm not able to handle this. I'm attending so many classes from school, from tuitions, from, I don't know, whatever, coaching classes, JE tuitions. Right? I'm doing too much. Right? I completely understand. Okay, I completely understand. But this is not going to be forever, for sure. Right? You will see that 11th, 12th will obviously, like if you're saying like this, definitely 12th will be more hectic, people. Okay, and it's all worth it. It's all worth it. You will come out to be a guy or a girl who will be able to handle pressure. Right? Now, if at all you're able to handle academic pressure, definitely you will be able to handle the pressures of life. Generally, you will fight. This is nothing. Like this is really nothing. There are more to come, more to fight for. Okay. Right. So how do you want to continue? Can I assume the fact that you know what resonance is, and can I teach you? Can I teach you tautomerism?
Sir, could you please proceed with teaching the resonance first and then continue?
Okay, then fine. Then we'll not see tautomerism first. We will, when we see resonance, at that time I will teach you tautomerism.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, done. Okay, so if that's the case, for now, isomerism is done. At least the structural isomerism is done. Okay, other than tautomerism, all the other isomerisms are done. Okay, fine. So next, what I want to go is geometrical isomerism. Okay, the next topic, the next type of isomerism, we are moving now into stereoisomerism. Okay, I told you optical isomerism we'll study in 12th class. Geometrical isomerism we'll study now. Okay, obviously I'll just give you an introduction now because I think we have only a few more minutes left, right? So I'll just give you an introduction and then we'll see in depth in next class, tomorrow's class. Okay, fine. So in geometric isomerism, people, right? Now, as I told you, this comes under stereoisomerism, right? This comes under stereoisomerism. So how do I define and in general stereoisomerism is, right, same molecular formula, but different orientations, right? Different orientations of atoms in 3D space, different orientations of atoms in 3D space. Okay, so we know that, for example, a tetrahedral, right? For the carbon atom is sp3 hybridized, right? I know it will have a tetrahedral structure, right? A tetrahedral, how you look at it, right? From which point you look at the compound, some may be pointing towards you, some may be pointing away from you, some will be top above you, some may be below you, whatever it is. But if you change your position, right? Say instead of looking at it from this angle, I move from the other side and see it. Right, so definitely what will be coming towards you, what is going away from you, again all these things will be different, right? So that kind of isomerism only we are trying to see now. Okay, there will be different orientations of atoms in 3D space, nothing else is changing, same molecular formula, same functional group only, same everything same structure, basically structure is also same, right? That means no position, no chain, no metamerism, nothing. Only simply the orientations of atoms are different. How they're oriented in 3D space is different, right? Among them is one of them is what is my geometric isomerism. Okay, right. Now people, geometric isomerism for your level, you can understand that it is going to happen only in the case where I have C double bond Cs. Okay, geometric isomerism is going to happen only in the case of C double bond Cs. But no, I don't want to teach you like this. It can also happen in rings. Okay, it can also happen in rings. So for at least for your level, these two you should know. Okay, it can happen in C double bond Cs or it can happen in rings. Okay, only these two are the cases, right? Then you can ask me, sir, so any compound having C double bond C or any compound having a ring can exhibit geometric isomerism? The answer is no, right? First criteria is obviously either you should have a C double bond C and you should have a ring, or you should have a ring, but only that is not going to be the criteria. What is the criteria? This is a very important thing which I'm going to teach you now. You can easily solve questions in seconds if you're going to follow this, right? Criteria for compounds to show geometric isomerism. Okay, right. Now, in case of C double bond Cs, okay, in case of C double bond Cs, how you should write, how you should approach this is, you understand that there are two groups attached on this carbon, two groups attached on this carbon. Okay, two groups attached on each carbon. Right now, these two groups attached must be different. Right. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I can have a structure like this, which will show geometric isomerism. Say some group A, some group B. Say I can have some group C and some group D. Okay. Now this is one possibility. The other possibility is, say I can have two different groups A, B, and you had entirely two different groups on the second carbon. You can even have the same group, but each carbon involved in the double bond should have two different groups. Again, I repeat, you can even take this on a statement. Each carbon involved in the double bond, should have two different groups. That is the criteria. Okay, that is the criteria. So for example, if I ask you ethene, ethene, is it capable of showing geometrical isomerism? What will be your answer? Is ethene capable of showing geometrical isomerism? What will be your answer? Yes or no? I want to take a vote. Please involve yourself in the chat. Okay, and type yes or no. Okay, this can show geometrical isomerism means yes. No, it cannot show geometrical isomerism means no. Type yes or no and put it in the chat box. Okay, Raghav says no. Harshita says no. Come on, everybody participate. It doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. Please go on. Put it in the chat box. Okay, Strayan says no. Okay. Subrajit says yes. Okay. Ashwat says no. Good, good. Go on. Everybody participate. Okay, I think that those are the answers. Fine. Now, if you understood what I am trying to say, what is the criteria for a compound to show geometric isomerism is each of the carbon atom, these two carbon atoms involved in the double bond should have two different groups. Only if that's the case, it can show geometric isomerism. If they are same, that means, say, even if I have one of the carbon atom to be same, the other carbon atom to be different, right? Then also it will not give geometric isomerism.
Sir.
Right? Yeah, go on.
Sir, it can be AB and AB on both sides. That's fine.
Yeah,
Right?
AB and AB on both sides is okay. That is okay. See, I've written this here. All you have to understand is both the carbons, say these two carbons are not connected. Okay, they are, even though there's a double bond in between them, now you are going to treat them as two different things. These two different carbons should have two different groups. That's all it is understanding. These two different groups are same in these two carbons, is fine. That doesn't matter. You can have AB, AB, right? But look at this. You cannot have a structure like this. AA, BB, again, this will not give. This will not show geometric isomerism. Are you able to get the point? Yes? No? Subrajit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. I hope you're able to get the point. Now, this question you see, I have this C double bond C, and I have two hydrogens on this carbon and two hydrogens on this carbon. Right. So definitely this is violating the rule, right? There are two same groups. So this will not show geometric isomerism. Okay, fine. I'll give you another example. Say if I had CH2 double bond CH3, will this show geometric isomerism? Again, put it in the chat box, people. Yes or no. If it is showing, yes. If it is not showing, no. This is the compound. Okay, I hope everybody has seen the compound, right? If you can look into the chat box, only one came. Okay, Subrajit says yes, Ashwat says no. Okay, go on, people. See, whenever you see the double bond, what you do is you write that C double bond C separately. Right? There's a C double bond C, right? Write that separately and write what are the groups present. Then you tell me the answer.
Sir.
Yeah. Tell me. Tell me, Subrajit.
Right.
Are you guys talking? I think I'm not able to hear you talking, guys. Are you guys talking?
No, sir.
Okay, you're not talking, right? Fine. So here, let me do this, right? Say I have taken this C double bond C. In this carbon, what and all are there? Tell me. The carbon which I have marked here, this carbon has what and all are the other atoms present? Please tell me.
Two hydrogens and it is bonded with one carbon.
Correct. Two hydrogens are there and it is bonded with this carbon, and that I have accounted for here, right? So all I have to account for is two hydrogen. Correct. Okay. Now, if I take this carbon, tell me which and all are the atoms or groups attached to it.
Two carbons and one hydrogen.
Okay. So one C double bond C is there. That is, this carbon is accounted for here, right? So what is remaining? One H is remaining. And what is the other one? CH3. This is what I have. Are you able to understand, people, how I converted this structure to this structure? Right? All you have to look into, zoom into the carbons which are having only the double bond, C double bond C. That carbons you take, the other two valencies you satisfy. See what is there. Then you decide whether they can show geometrical isomerism or not. Now you see that this carbon atom is okay. Yes, H and CH3, two different groups. right? What about this carbon? This is having hydrogen and hydrogen. Again, this cannot show geometrical isomerism. Okay, I hope everybody is following. Let us take this example. One last example for the day, and then we'll wind up. I have CH3, CH double bond CH, CH3. Okay, do exactly the same. This is a double bond. Maybe if I'll write properly, right? CH double bond, CH3, CH double bond, CH, CH3. Again, do the same thing, people. Zoom into the double bond, write the two valencies, and see whether it can show geometrical isomerism or not. If the two carbons having the double bond has
It
two
can show.
different groups, then yes, it can show geometrical isomerism.
So this is like AB type.
Yeah, everybody put it to the chat box. Yes or no. It can show means yes, it cannot show means no. Okay. Some question was there. What is it? In ethene, if there was an alcohol or a functional group instead of two hydrogen bonds, right? Yes, it will be a geometrical. Yes, Kana. Yes, definitely. Okay. I'll maybe even write the structures for you. Okay. Raghav says yes. Harshida says yes. Okay. Look at the structure, people. Look at the structure and tell me whether it is going to be, it can show geometrical isomerism or not. Put yes means it can show, no means it cannot show. Yes or no, just put it in the chat box. This is the structure. Okay, Subrajit says yes. Okay, right. Now we'll check again. We'll do the same thing as in the previous case. Let me write the C double bond C. I'm talking about this carbon and this carbon. Okay, so this carbon and this carbon double bond is accounted for. If I talk about this carbon has one hydrogen and there is a CH3. Okay, same way, this carbon is having a H and a CH3. Right? So this is A, B, definitely it will show geometrical isomerism. Okay, definitely it will show geometrical isomerism. The carbon atom having the double bond is having two other groups attached, two different groups attached. So it will show geometrical isomerism. Okay, fine. Now we'll continue in the next class. I'll give you more examples. We'll see. Now we understood which kind of compounds can show geometrical isomerism. We'll understand what exactly are geometrical isomers. Okay, right? So I think with this, I'll stop here. Any questions anybody has? Okay, thank you so much, people. We'll meet again next class. I'm ending the class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Hamsi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.